Okay, hello everybody. Today's date is the 24th of September, 2017, and my name is Leslie Williams. I am a target, victim, and activist concerning the continued criminal expedition of what is known as gang stalking. My fellow Americans, you better watch this video, because this is going to be one of the best videos that I have ever made. Now, before I unpack and segue into the subject matter, I want you to listen closely to my following statements. Now, before I make them, I'm going to have to say this, and you'll understand why I'm stating what I'm getting ready to state in a minute. If you've never watched any of my videos, then you're not aware yet that I'm a gang stalking victim, so you might not understand, initially why I'm making these statements. That's why I always steer my viewers to my previous Periscope videos so they can go into this Periscope account and watch them and be able to understand why I make predictions. And that way I don't have to continually repeat my predictions in every video unless I find it necessary. Excuse me one second. And that way I don't have to give an explanation concerning why I make my predictions. So at any time, and trust me, after you're done watching this video, you're gonna absolutely want to watch some of my other videos. Now, my fellow American citizens, if this Periscope video stops at any point while I'm talking, still research what I stated up to that point and the other Periscope videos in this account, because I have been cut off from live broadcasts before as I'm making Periscope videos. Now, what I incorporated within the title of this Periscope video is, and the other thing I wanted to state was if anybody comes on this property or starts congregating anywhere around it as I'm making this video, or at any time I'm on the property in the next 48 hours, it will be directly connected to gang stalking. I don't care about what's said within 100 feet of me and or in my direct physical presence. I don't care what comes about, how it's played out, or who is used for it. It will be a staged event. Staged events in gang stalking crimes are called street gators. All my descriptions can be Googled and, when appropriate, YouTubed. So you can see that what I state is the absolute, undeniable, indisputable truth concerning what I expose in this video and my statements. Hold on a minute. Now, I'm a little anxious because I really want to make this video as detailed as possible, and whenever I get anxious, I get a teeny bit tongue-tied, so just trust me on this, okay? Stay with this video. So let me take a puff off the cigarette, and then I'm going to segue into the subject matter. Now, what did I incorporate in the title of this particular Periscope video? A statement and a tweet link from Twitter. Now, before I get into the statement, let me just tell you what you need to do concerning the tweet link. All you got to do is get out a pen and paper. In fact, the best thing for you to do while I'm talking right now is to literally get out a pen and piece of paper right now, so you can also write down some of my descriptions that I make, so you won't have to go back and watch this, rewatch this video over again. Excuse me. And so you can take notes pertaining to what I state. Now, what I incorporated within the tweet link, all you gotta do is write down the characters of that tweet link and then type them in at your URL address bar. And then and then hit enter. That will bring up the actual tweet. Now, what I incorporated within that tweet link is a YouTube video from a Dr. John Hall, who's all over the internet. You can just type in at YouTube, even Google, but mostly YouTube, Dr. John Hall satellite terrorism. Okay? Now, the only thing that I don't agree with concerning any of John Hall's statements that he's made pertaining to the videos that I watched is that he states that the average community doctor don't know about these crimes and therefore they might unintentionally diagnose targets with mental illnesses. That's total bullshit. I don't know why he says that, probably through ignorance, but understand, every gang stalking victim that is ever taken to the hospital because of any event that ever happens towards them, the doctors are already notified that that target is on their way. Absolutely, because doctors play a huge role in gang stalking. They're directly connected to the intentional, criminal, illegal, falsified diagnoses of a target in order to discredit the target pertaining to what's factually happening to the target and for insurance fraud. Doctors are literally called the money bags. In the manifesto, which is a documentation file that's online right now, that was literally written by a manager of gang stalking crews. And it's basically nothing but it's a nationwide organized crime syndicate that is up and operating in every state, county, city, and local government in the United States, and the police are directly connected to all of it. Make no mistake about it. Okay. And in this manifesto, it flat out talks about how the courts are the favorite place to trap a target. It goes on to talk about how the doctors are very high up in the syndicate, and they are considered the money bags. Now, how would a doctor earn that type of label? Because what does a doctor do? He charges for his services. And every target of this crime eventually is intentionally, criminally, deliberately, intentionally, criminally diagnosed with a false mental diagnosis that they do not have. And this is done to discredit the target on paper. It's done for illegal probate control for racketeering purposes. It's done for a continued illegal probate control. But it's massively done for the illegal diagnoses are done to discredit the target in court for whatever reason. But they are also eventually used down the road against the target in order to contain the target, to exploit the target. Okay, so when you look at Dr. John Hall's satellite terrorism YouTube videos, and you can Google him as well, when you hear him state that the majority of your neighborhood doctors don't know about this bullshit. Even private psychologists and psychiatrists can be brought on board in these criminal expeditions because it's actually run by the intelligence agencies and the federal government. Okay, and they're basically they're making hundreds of millions of dollars off this crime every year. Make no mistake about it. This crime is directly connected to at least, I'd say, anywhere between 100 and 200 major crime motivations. You know, every type of crime that you can think of: identity theft, human trafficking, stolen car rings, you name it. They're involved in all of it. Okay, so they're not going to. Do you really think that any government, okay, federal, state, county, city government, is ever going to admit that they are involved in some of the most heinous crimes that your mind can conceive and cannot? Of course they won't. But what they will do is discredit the whistleblower concerning them using the protocols of gang stalking. And it's all over the internet that they're using doctors, including court-appointed doctors, doctors in detention centers, psychiatric floors, hospitals, county mental health, you name it. You name it. Here in San Diego, they got these things called the PERT teams, and they're nothing but contracted workers, people through that the state and county and cities contract for, that are, and I think the reason why they're contracted is so, in case anything bites them in the ass down the road, the county and city can say, well, we weren't directly connected to them, we were just contracting through them. And gang stalking, a huge aspect of many, many different types of crime of gang stalking, operates through front groups. So keep that in mind as well. Now, periodically throughout this video, I will be checking to make sure I'm still live broadcasting. Now, but you can still get a lot of good information and education from Dr. John Hall. Now, in the second YouTube video that is incorporated within that tweet is a YouTube video that I made, and you need to write down when you open up that video. Once you open it up, as soon as you open it up, press stop. Okay, and if you can see the YouTube title that I'm visually showing with my camera, that's presented at the very, very, very beginning of that video. If you can see it well, write it down. If not, I literally verbally state the YouTube title that I'm presenting in that video at the very beginning of the video. I verbally present it as well, the title of it. So you want to write that down. But you want to write it down, but continue to watch the entire video before you type in that title of that YouTube video, okay, to go and watch it. And that is in reference to a YouTube video from another gang stalking victim. I believe she's in New York. Okay. Now, she's got a YouTube channel. She's got at least, I think, 10 or 15 videos dedicated to her YouTube channel. And she does give some very, very good verbalizations concerning what she's actually experiencing. Now, the reason why I incorporated her video within the video that I'm making, which is the video you'll be watching, is because I'm taking part of her statements pertaining to her describing what she's experiencing and then explaining how it's done and then giving you documentation that was put on the internet concerning DARPA, okay? And it's an actual, I literally show a video, a visual presentation of the documentation so you'll know how to find that DARPA article through Google. So follow all my instructions and you will see truth. Now, A little bit of what's presented in that video is going to sound technical in reference to the medical explanation. Trust me, you'll understand it because I described it in very good layman's terms. Now, you need to watch that video. Now, here's the second key to this video. That is one tweet link that I incorporated within the title of this Periscope video. Now, that tweet link is attached to a tweet chain, okay? And it's got hundreds of tweets attached to it. That tweet chain is part of my pinned tweet, okay, that is attached to my Twitter account. Now, when you bring that tweet up that is in the title of this Periscope video, what you want to also do is look at the tweet that is attached to it that's right below it. All the other tweets that are attached to it are above it, okay? Now, the tweet that I attached directly below it, okay, works in concert with what's presented within the tweet that is in the title of this Periscope video. And what that basically is, and it describes how remote neural monitoring brain stimulation can stimulate any neural network and neural pathway within a neural network. So specific brain states, including depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, alcoholism, you name it. Okay, it literally shows a list of the brainwave frequencies of these dedicated brain states and symptomologies, okay, within the brain, if they're already cultivated. But I want you to also understand, I wrote in entirety, I wrote remote neural monitoring brain stimulation, okay, and then I also wrote and emits. Now, and emits does not mean that it's emitting what has been stimulated. And emits means that they can literally take a harvested frequency from one person, okay? And I'm going to give you some supporting documentation as I continue to talk concerning my statements I'm getting ready to make. Say if you got a person who has any type of obsessive compulsive behavior, okay, no matter what it is, okay? No matter what it is, okay? As a result of those obsessive compulsive behaviors, if they're repeated, the neurons in your brain become potentiated. Those potentiated neurons give a frequency output, okay? And if they're continually repeated, that frequency output is always going to lay the hole, the threshold of firing, which means it's not going to take a lot to stimulate it because it's a very potentiated neuron that has an extremely potentiated frequency. Remote neural monitoring can identify it and mark it, okay, and then send a stimulating frequency to it to stimulate that obsessive compulsive behavior. Now, you mix that in with the capabilities of voice to skull and voice cloning, where they can literally, okay, and this has to do with the first video as well. The first tweet, which is actually the tweet that's in the title of this Periscope video, the Dr. John Hall video, okay. See, with voice to skull is basically a technology where they can literally transmit sounds into the audio cortex of a human being as a result of that target individual's biomagnetic frequency of their brain being identified with remote neural monitoring. As a result, they can send a modulated frequency to that biomagnetic resonance frequency of that specific target individual, okay, and send a matching frequency to it once they have identified what it is. As a result, they have gained a neurological access. As a result of that, they can basically then start mapping the brain, okay? They can do a bunch of different things. But the point being is that once they have been able to do this, once the brain has been mapped, or once things within the brain have been mapped, whether the whole entire brain has been mapped or not, what they can do is send a amplified frequency to the identified frequency of a specific brain state in order to stimulate that brain state into action. While that's occurring, they can then compose a sentence in a computer. Like, say if you got an individual who's got some type of obsessive compulsive problem, okay? So if you got a person that's got an obsessive compulsive problem and they have made decisions in the past about engaging in these obsessive compulsive disorders, okay, what they will do is identify that person's voice print, like you hear me talking now, okay, and they'll capture that voice print and put it in the computer that the remote neural monitoring and features of the V2K have been put in together, working together as two operating technologies working together within one mainframe. Now, the voice to skull is used so they can transmit dialogue sets into the target's audio cortex using the target's own voice print. Okay, so you hear me saying right now, I am going to go to McDonald's, I am going to go to Walmart. Okay, they can literally capture your voice print, just like you hear me talking now, and transmit that type of dialogue set into the audio cortex. The person hears it, they think they're having a thought, and then they act on it. Understand? Well, so they can do the same thing with the individual who's got obsessive compulsive disorders, or who they're trying to lead into obsessive compulsive disorders. So you need to really take a look at the two lunar cycle frequency. There's one lunar cycle frequency list, and then there's a glossary, which means it's like a glossary of brain states and different maladies and brain functions and everything that have frequencies attached to them. And since remote neural monitoring is all over the internet to be directly connected to brain stimulation, all you have to do is put the two together, mix it in with voice to skull, and you will see true. Now let me proceed to this, and then I might get into a more detailed discussion concerning that in a minute. Okay. Now, in the first YouTube video that is in the tweet link that is incorporated within the title of this particular video, you hear a Dr. John Hall. Now, he was in the YouTube news broadcast stalked in San Antonio. He's featured in that news broadcast pertaining to two women whose homes were broken into as they were in their home, sleeping, and how they were, as they were in their home, and how they were raped. Now, one of the main things of gang stalking, and this is all over the internet, that these psycho demented animals are raping women. 70% of all targets are women, and there's tens of thousands of victims all over the internet begging for help and not getting one bit. Okay. Now, the reason why I decided to incorporate that Dr. John Hall satellite terrorism, it looks like it's one of the shows where he's on Alex Jones. Okay, so when you look at that video, that should be the video where he talks about how his ex-girlfriend was being gang stalked, and about how the perpetrators broke into her home and put some, I guess it's the date rape drug or whatever, in her beverages in her refrigerator. She then came home, and they used voice to skull on her with the voice cloning to psychologically motivate her to go get something to drink. Now, when she went and got something to drink, she was drinking the beverage that they had put the date rape drug in. Okay? They then waited until that drug took effect and came into her home and raped her. Okay? And were human trafficking her. Okay? They were using her for a sex slave. So, how would they know, okay, when she drank this beverage? Well, it's all over the internet that they're breaking into victims' homes and putting little miniature video cameras in the homes. It's also all over the internet that if you're a victim of remote neural monitoring, this enables the perpetrators to be able to literally see through the eyes and hear through the ears of the target. Now, I know you think, what? Trust me, just keep listening to me, just trust me. Now, I want you to listen very closely. When you're a victim of remote neural monitoring, the audio cortex and the visual cortex has already been mapped. I was on the Ground Zero show with Clyde Lewis on 02/05/2014. Okay? Daniel Estalon was on the show. Now, Daniel Estalon is an author. He's written many books. Okay? And he was on the show talking with Clyde Lewis, who's the host of this show. And they were talking about how they were discussing his new book called The Deconstruction of Humanity. The name of the show is I Humanot. Okay? It's basically a show about discussing his book, discussing things about transhumanism and a bunch of other things, right? And transhumanism is one of the non-consensual human experimentation objectives that is occurring to gang stalking victims. Okay? Just hear me out. So, I called up the show that night because I was listening to it on my radio. So I called up the show, and I wanted to speak to Daniel Estalon, and so Clyde accepted my call, while millions of Americans are listening to this. So I asked Daniel Estalon if he ever heard of the Blue Brain Project. And the Blue Brain Project is the project where they're attempting to reverse engineer the brain so they can create artificial neural pathways within it that are already programmed. Okay? And so you can research the Blue Brain Project at any time. And that's the sister project of Project 2045, which is another non-consensual human experimentation project happening to gang stalker victims. That can be YouTube and Google. Hold on a minute. So, I asked Daniel Eslan if he ever heard of the Blue Brain Project. He said no. He said, where did you hear that term from? And I told him that I stumbled across it as I was researching mind uploading, mind hacking, and mind transfer technologies. Okay. He said, and then he interrupted me and he said, no, it's not called that. Okay. He said it's called remote neural monitoring. And then he went on to describe some of the features of remote neural monitoring. He literally openly said it right out on the national radio show, millions of Americans hearing it, that remote neural monitoring, if it's being used on a victim, that the perpetrators who are using it on the victim can see through the eyes and hear through the ears. And this is because the brain's been hacked. The audio cortex has been hacked. The visual cortex has been hacked. So the person who's being remotely neurally monitored, everything that they see, the perpetrators see. Everything the victim hears, they hear, and much more. Now, the further explanations that he gave concerning remote neural monitoring are not all of them, but he did give some pretty descriptive ones. Okay, how it can affect memory, how images can be put into the target's mind for the visual cortex to see. How do you think that, like when you Google artificial and induced dreams and gang stalking and remote neural monitoring, look at what comes up when you research that. Okay, so my fellow American citizens, this was a little bit of a mouthful, but so if they were able to deduce if she's being remotely neurally monitored, who John Hall's all over YouTube exposing that as well, if she was being remotely neurally monitored, they could use her as a surveillance. Okay, they could see through her eyes to see when she was going to the refrigerator to drink that certain drink the one that they put the rohypnol in, and then boom, they know how long it takes effect, and then they come in and they rape her and they videotape it and sell it to pornography groups. Now, my fellow American citizens, why did I bring all this up? I brought all this up because I want you to really think about what I'm saying to you. Remote neural monitoring and V2K, it all happens to a target when it's being perpetrated against the target under the perceptual radar because they're gaining a neurological access, okay, usually, I'd say 99.9% of the times through the unconscious layers of the brain. And then just streamlining what they streamline up into the audio and visual cortex. Okay, they streamline the V2K voice cloning up through the unconscious to the conscious layers into the audio cortex. Therefore, the target thinks they're having their own thought. Okay, so she obviously already had to have been brain mapped that they were perpetrating V2K with voice cloning to put the idea in her head to go take the drink out of the refrigerator where the rohypnol was. And then they just waited until it took effect and boom. Okay. Now, remote neural monitoring can also monitor the brain in reference to what brain state the target is in. Are they in alpha, theta, beta, meaning that is the target awake or asleep? So if a person is taking a drink that has been where that stuff was put in it and then it caused them to be knocked out, then it's obvious they were able to also to deduce that with remote neural monitoring as well. So why am I telling you all this? Because I want you to think about this for a second. Let me take a puff out the cigarette. Now, I want you to really think about what I'm saying here. It's all over the internet that tens of thousands of Americans are exposing being gang stalked. It's the biggest crime exposed online, and the only reason why, if you've never heard of this crime before, the only reason why that is because when you get on the internet, if you don't type in gang stalking or organized stalking, there's like a 99.9% chance you're not going to run across any of the information about it online. Because when you go to when you're online, you only bring up things that you keyword in. Okay? So that's one reason why you haven't heard about it. So let me just backtrack for a second. So I want you to think about what I'm saying to you. Say you got a 9-year-old girl who's being targeted by the lowest of the low. Okay? And you want to get that 9-year-old girl to go somewhere, okay, on her own. What these filthy maggots will do is, it's all over the internet that these psycho, demented animals are learning the travel routes, the behavior patterns, the regular routines and habits of their victims. Okay, they take psychological profiles, financial profiles, everything of you. Okay, long before they start the open gang stalking of you. They can use this technology on you without the gang stalking, community-based harassment. So say you got a 9-year-old girl or a 7-year-old boy, okay, that they're using this technology on. Hold on. Now, by the time they have already brain mapped this child, they have already gotten to know their physical routines, their physical habits, where they go to school at, where mom and what soccer teams they're on, and so on and so forth. So can you imagine how they can use this technology in order to get a little girl or a little boy into an isolated area where they can be grabbed and you'll never see them again? And then obviously you can imagine what they would be used for. Okay. Now, say if you got a 18, 19, 20-year-old girl who has very estranged relationships with her family, possibly even because the technology was even used on their family, okay, in order to use the functions of the technology, because this technology can induce forced speech. Google that. They can get a victim to say anything. Forced induced speech is another feature of this technology. They can get the mother to fight with the father. They can get the father to fight with the daughter. They can get the mother to throw the daughter out. They can get the sister to fight with the brother. Absolutely, because this technology can induce rage, aggression, speech. Okay, it's done to conquer and divide. So that each of the siblings, like say if they're trying to divide the siblings, so each one doesn't support the other one. Okay, they basically can use this technology on them to create infighting between the parents and the child, the siblings between the siblings, and so on. And this is done so they can separate them, so they can victimize each one in either identical ways or specific different ways. Okay. So say if you got a 18, 19, 20-year-old a woman who has estranged relations with her family for whatever reason. Okay, hold on. For whatever reason. Okay. But there is information online that entire families are being targeted with this technology. Hold on. So say if you got a woman, let's just say you got a woman who just got divorced from her first love. Okay. And this technology has already they have already brain mapped this woman, 24, 25 years old. She's already traumatized because the marriage was bad, domestic violence. She leaves him or he leaves her, and she has nowhere to go because she doesn't have no family to run to, and this technology has already brain mapped this woman. So she ends up homeless, and through the stalking of gang stalking, which is all covert, okay, the tracking of her, they're going to track her until they can get her in a position to where they can start utilizing this technology on her in the ways that I have presented in this video, including the attached documentation pertaining to both tweets that I talked about earlier. They can set this woman up for a DUI. They can set her up to go drink, okay, and then bust her for a DUI, send her to AA, Google AA and gang stalking. You understand what I'm saying? Now, why am I bringing all this up? My fellow American citizens, I want you to listen to me very, very, very carefully. I know all about this. Absolutely, I know all about it. Okay. Now, before I continue and segue into some statements here, I want you to also pay attention. How much money is the local city and county governments and state governments making today off of each DUI victim, especially a DUI victim who's been victimized through DUI tickets 5 times? How much money do you think they're making off of? Okay. The last time I checked, which was probably, I don't know, about 10, 15 years ago, they were making $3,000 off of the first offense. $3,000 off the first offense between probation costs, court costs, fines, and then you got all of the DMV stuff that's connected to it and everything. That was 15 years ago. How much money are they making off of DUIs today? Okay. And then what happens if you got a father that they're using this technology on, inducing him to go and do these things. He gets a DUI 5 times. His license has been permanently taken away from him. Then, and if he's being gang stalked, he's probably going to be eventually blacklisted from employment. So his family's going to end up on the street, and his daughter's going to end up being human trafficked. His wife, too, probably has already left him, and she'll probably be targeted, too. Breaking up the family, separating them from each other, using normal appearance circumstances, okay, while the technology is being remotely perpetrated against each of the family members, so each and every one of them can be exploited. Okay, you know, this technology, V2K and voice cloning, can affect and alter and induce your decision making during any event. Okay, any induced statement that they can force you to make in the presence of a cop who's a corrupt criminal animal. Okay, absolutely, absolutely. Now, my fellow American citizens, I've only drank twice in the past 7 years. Okay, I don't drink at all. I'm going to tell you why I don't. The main reason why I do not drink is because, well, there's actually all three reasons are equally as important. Because I'm a practicing, obedient Christian woman. Okay, I have turned my life over to Jesus Christ, and anything that you put in your mouth that can steal your mind is a bad idea. Okay, the second reason is because I know I'm being gang stalked. Okay, so if you go and you take a drink, okay, and then you might possibly take another, they can get you as soon as you walk out of a restaurant where you're having that drink at or wherever. Okay, and try and state that you're, publicly intoxicated. You understand? So they can get you that way. Okay? Or a corrupt cop can pick you up claiming that you are and take you to a place and have you raped and killed, and a life insurance policy can be cashed upon. Absolutely. Now, if they have already used this technology, let's just say, for instance, possibly if they've already used this technology on me in these specific ways, would there be anything on my record, okay, stating that Miss Williams had to be taken to the hospital because of being you-know-what? Okay? Now, why would they do something like this? So they could have it on record. So later on down the road, they could accuse you of it, even when you're not doing it. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to tell you something right now, my fellow American citizens. I don't lie. I have no reason to lie to you whatsoever. I do not drink. I do not do drugs. I do not steal. I do not sleep around. I do not hang around one soul and have not from the second I came to San Diego since August 8, 2011, up and through this date, September 24, 2017, and I will not until this gang stalking has been completely and 100% out of my life. Okay? Absolutely. Absolutely. But the point being is that when you're being gang stalked and you're an extremely well-known whistleblower, when the police enter my physical presence, they intentionally act like they don't know who I am. I already know they know who I am. I'm all over the internet, and I'd say at least 75 dedicated blogs exposing SDPD and UCSD police and SDSU police, okay, and SDSD. I'm all over the internet in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos exposing their criminal, demented asses. They know exactly who I am. And they also know that I wear tape recorder. So when they come in my physical presence, they'll act like they don't know who I am, for the sake of their video cameras on their chest as well. They'll act like they have normal appearing probable cause to approach me. Okay? So why am I making this video? Yesterday, I was off of Genesee Road, and Genesee Avenue and Governor Road. I had just left a Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, which was a coffee shop. And I went there, and I used their internet services, and then I left there, and every time I'm in the area, I go to at least 3 places. Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, the Carl's Jr., which is located 1.5 blocks away, and then I go back to the same plaza where the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf is and go to Vaughn's, because the grocery stores are in the same plaza as the coffee shop is. So I left the coffee shop and went directly to Carl's Jr., and yesterday, for the last 4 days, I've been sick. I've been sick with a sinus infection, a migraine. Okay, my head and my eyes were like so itching and so red yesterday from allergies, where I was constantly blowing my nose. I almost got as far as buying Visine. I went into Rite Aid to inquire about the strongest allergy medicine. Okay, and the day before that, I bought a bunch of allergy medicine at CVS. Okay, so this morning I woke up and it was still there. So I got out a wet napkin and held it on my eyes for like 45 minutes, okay, and took 3 allergy pills and 2 Excedrins, and I seem to got it finally under control, but I've been this way for the past 4 days. And usually when I get sinusitis or a migraine, it lasts anywhere between 4 days to 7 days. So I've been taking it real easy today, trying not to get dirt dust in my face and inhaling it through my nose, because I don't know if maybe that brought it on, but I have a feeling it's mostly because the seasons are changing. Okay. So, yesterday I felt like total shit. So when I went into Carl's Jr. and I ordered a new feature that they got, a $5 box lunch or whatever you call it, and then I left there, and between the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf, the plaza where that's at, and Carl's Jr. is a library where I've got indisputable audio evidence of me being gang stalked in that library. So what I did was I walked my bike from Carl's Jr. not even 60 feet away and sat down on the edge of the lawn, at the library, and knelt my bike over, because I went in the area to do my laundry as well. And I leaned my bike over onto the lawn. Okay, I'd say my bike was covering about maybe 2.5 feet of the sidewalk, and the sidewalk was a double sidewalk, so it was like at least a 10 to 15 feet sidewalk. My bike, by the time I leaned it over onto the lawn, it was only encompassing about 2 feet of the sidewalk. Okay, so I'm sitting there and I'm eating my lunch, and I just almost got done eating my lunch, and a San Diego cop rides by me, and then I'm still eating, and then I turn my head, and one's starting to walk towards me and approach me, and he said he got a call of a drunk in the area that fits my description. Now, 5 minutes before, I saw this idiot on a bike who went right by me. I even made a statement in my tape recorder saying a psycho's coming, because I got to do that in case these people that they prop up along my path approach me. So when I turned and I saw him driving his bike towards me, I said, a psycho's coming, into my tape recorder. And so he just rode right by me. He looked at me, he rode right by me, and he had blue shorts on. Okay? But he didn't have no top on. And he just kept going down the road. And this was after that the cop went by. I think it was after. No, it was before or after. It doesn't matter. So then the cop walks up to me and he says, we got a call that a person that fits the description pertaining to the clothes you're wearing is in the neighborhood and is intoxicated. And I said, so I took off my sunglasses and I go, well, you got the wrong person. So then he starts asking me for my ID. And I said, look, I don't need to give you my ID because I'm not that person you're referring to. He goes, well, how am I supposed to know it? I said, well, what do you mean? You can't tell that I'm not? And so he eventually admitted that I definitely wasn't. Okay? But then he goes on to say that I would still like to see your ID because you're engaging in illegal encroachment and obstructing the right-of-way of passage. My bike was 2 feet on the sidewalk. Okay? I go, look, I just came out of Carl's Jr., just got done eating, and I decided to sit here in the shade to eat my lunch, and now you're coming up and bothering me, harassing me about craziness. Okay? So I did give him my ID, my expired Michigan ID, and he looked me up and he said there were no warrants. But I noticed that he played around a little bit with his video camera on his chest, so I don't know if he turned it off once he said that we got a call that somebody's intoxicated, so only that part could be caught on his video camera. I don't know what type of corrupt police report, if any, that he filed once he walked away from my physical presence. He was cordial, okay, after I got out my video camera, okay? He was cordial after I got that out. The whole entire thing was taped, and if I got time later on today or tomorrow, the next day, I'm gonna transfer over that statement. But I'm going to tell you something right now, my fellow American citizens, and I want you to know the truth. I do not lie at all. I do not drink at all. I'm not that stupid. And when you go into my blog, which is attached to my Twitter account, which you'll be able to know what my Twitter account is by bringing up that tweet that's incorporated within the title of this Periscope video, my blog is attached to the profile of that account. Open it up and you will see how important I am. And they know it. You better believe they know it. Okay. Now, here's another thing. On the 9/17/2013 Ground Zero show, its link as well is in my blog. You'll clearly hear Clyde Lewis talk about how certain remote technologies that are being used on gang stalking victims, how those victims' brains can be stimulated without them even knowing it. You understand? Well, what's this video about? It's about brain stimulation, but it's also about voice to skull. So when you look at what he states concerning that in the 9/17/13 Ground Zero show that I'm on, he flat out openly says it, that people like Leslie and Elisa E., which was the guest on that show, okay, can be, how their brains can be stimulated without them even knowing it. That is because when your brain or any function of your brain is being stimulated with remote neural monitoring, you cannot perceive it happening to you as it's happening, because it happens under the perceptual radar, which the remote neural monitoring documentation that you can find through Google even states it. You understand? So, my fellow American citizens, they know I'm a whistleblower. So, here's another thing I want you to also pay attention to. You can also go to Google, and you can research how these sick maggots connected to gang stalking crimes will dress up the same way that a target is dressing. I've already seen it probably on 30 different blogs and about probably 15 to 20 different comments on different YouTube videos about how other targets are stating that individuals that are involved in the gang stalking of them are dressing up identically to how the target's dressing up. So this guy who rides by me on a bike with blue shorts on, okay, gives me a funny look as he's going by me. The one I said that I talked about concerning when I said that here comes a cycle coming because I seen him coming towards me on a bike and he went right by me. He went down the road, and I don't know how he was acting when he went down the road, but he's with a bike and he's got blue shorts on, and he could have put on his blue or gray shirt before he went by me or afterwards. But here's the thing. When police approach you, they got to have normal appearing probable cause. Do you understand? Absolutely. Otherwise, it'll outwardly show that they're intentionally GPS tracking you. So why would they, if that was a staged event, why would they stage something like that towards me? Okay? And then use the dialogue that we got a call of a person being publicly intoxicated. And then approach me. Okay? I don't drink. I'm not that stupid. And I do not do drugs. Okay? I am not that stupid to put anything in my mouth. For one, it's against my religion. Two, I'm not stupid enough to put anything in my body or in my mouth that would cause my decision making to be influenced and to where I could be easily approached and arrested. The police know exactly who I am. It doesn't matter what they say within 100 feet of me or in my direct physical presence or any statement that they make as they're talking to the dispatch when they're receiving a call or when they're making a call concerning me pertaining to checking my ID. They will play the role on all 911 calls. They will play because those calls are recorded. And the reason I'm making all these statements is because when the police got to cover their tracks in reference to them staging probable cause as a result against the target that they're illegally GPS tracking, they got to make it appear on their records that all normal procedures are being followed. We got a call. So who called them? I'd like to know the phone number of who called them. Because when you look at the gang of gang stalking, that means more than one person. And when you realize the fact that I got over 5,000 audio files of individuals saying the same exact identical harassment around me practically every single day, 90% of the time it's by different people. That's a gang. That's the gang of gang stalking, community-based harassment. So if they can get all these different people to harass me in the same exact identical way every day, do you honestly think they can get somebody to make a fake phone call? Of course they can. So I wanted to tell you, just in case they ever try and arrest me for anything, understand this and be clear. It'll be nothing but a complete lie directly connected to a staged event. See, the cops know about the law and how to work around it within it in order to bring about a result. Absolutely. Make no mistake about it. So, now, I'm not going to be doing much today because I still got this, it's like right up in here and right up in the back, all in the back of my head and up in my nasal passage, man. Yesterday, you could tell I wasn't feeling well yesterday. My eyelids were all red, and they looked like I definitely had some type of allergic reaction going on. But I want you to know the truth, my fellow American citizens. Not just the main thing, the reason why I'm making this video is to inform you about this technology and the fact that it's being used. Now, in closing, I want you to really think about this. In the YouTube video, Stalked in San Antonio, it's a news broadcast that was made and put on the news on February 17, 2010, through Ken 5 news station in San Antonio, Texas. That's the news broadcast John Hall is on, pertaining to two women, how their homes were broken into, and how both were raped. Well, in all of the other John Hall satellite terrorism YouTube videos, and in his book, Satellite Terrorism, he talks about how one of those women was his ex-girlfriend, and how they were using her as a sex slave as a result of them breaking into her home, drugging her food, waiting until she ate that food, and then going into the home and gang raping her and videotaping it and selling it to pornography groups. He flat out states in all of his other YouTube videos that they were sex trafficking her, right? Okay. Now, he's also all over the internet through YouTube exposing remote neural monitoring. So he's on this news broadcast through Ken 5's news station in San Antonio on February 17, 2010. He's in the news broadcast while they're showing these two women pertaining to what happened to him, and one of those two women was his ex-girlfriend. Okay? Now, in 2006 and in 2008, I made an email out here in San Diego in 2006, and that email was sent to Kim Worthy, who was a Michigan prosecutor for Wayne County in Michigan. Okay? And in this 2006 email, I made specific statements about my home being entered and how property was taken and then put back in the apartment after it was taken for gaslighting purposes. Basically, where they take something out of your house, okay, and then return it later in order to undermine your perceptions about how can this be being done. It's called gaslighting. So they took something, some IDs and some other things of mine out of my apartment. They waited until I noticed it was missing and then returned it on a later date at a place that I frequently see. I wrote that in a 2006 email. Then in a 2008 email, I also wrote that someone entered my home and turned on all the lights as I was sleeping. Now, in the San Antonio news broadcast, you hear the same thing being said by both women in the Stockton San Antonio news broadcast. Except my testimony came first because they are in 2006 and 2008 emails that I'm carrying on me right now that are in my blog. So when you go into my blog, look at the sections in my blog dedicated to the Stockton San Antonio section. You'll see them, the 2008 email and the 2006. You'll also see the transcript of the Stockton San Antonio news broadcast, flat out showing that the one woman said that they stole jewelry out of her home, then replaced it later, and then the other woman stated that as she was sleeping in her home, it was either as she was sleeping or when she came home, and all the lights in her home were turned on. Now, my testimony came first in the 2006 and 2008 emails because the Stockton San Antonio news broadcast did not happen until February 17th, 2010. Now, it was either in November or December of 2016, a San Diego mother was on the news here in San Diego, ABC News. You can find that YouTube news broadcast by typing in at YouTube, San Diego mother thinks she's a victim of community stalking. She's on the news, and she flat out states that they entered her home and did a bunch of different things, and one of the things that she said they did was entered her home and turned on all the lights. So that's 3 women, 3 states, okay? Because I was referring to the Michigan gang stalking of me pertaining to 3 separate apartments in Michigan when I wrote the 2006 and 2008 emails. You understand? The 2006 email had to do with apartments that I rented between 1999 and 2003. Okay? In 2006, I'm sorry. And then the 2008 email had to do with all the apartments concerned those same apartments. Okay? So, it's obvious that my testimony came first. Now, so we're talking about 4 women, the 2 from the Stockton San Antonio broadcast. Okay? Me, and then the woman here from San Diego. Identical to a T, word for word testimony. Now, John Hall, being in the Stockton San Antonio YouTube video news broadcast, he's all over the internet exposing gang stalking and remote neural monitoring. Okay? My 2006 and 2008 emails do not talk about gang stalking, but they do talk about stalking. And they describe techniques of gang stalking because I didn't know what was happening to me was called gang stalking until June 9, 2009. Yet all 4 victims, me being one of them, testimony is identical to a T. John Hall being featured in the news broadcast, Stockton San Antonio, him being all over YouTube, exposing gang stalking and remote neural monitoring. Do you understand? Now, remote neural monitoring has to do with brain stimulation, and in this dialogue that he shares in practically all of his YouTube videos, Stockton San Antonio, he flat out shows that this technology is being used with V2K and voice cloning to influence women's decisions makings about going to do things so the perpetrators can then benefit from what the women are being influenced to do. Do you understand? So, I incorporated and made this video as a direct result because the police know what's on your record. Absolutely. So what they'll do is approach it. Will they create these bullshit fake calls and then use that as a reason to approach you and accuse you of something while they're videotaping you. You could end up dead, and they can say it was from a drunk stupor. Okay? Or they can approach you on a later date and accuse me of the same thing. Okay? And I don't know if they're walking away and filing a bunch of falsified police reports about me, because you got to remember, I'm all over YouTube. There's at least 600 videos of mine all over YouTube exposing SDPD. So do you honestly think that when one approaches me, they don't know who I am? I don't think so. I don't think so. And if you have, absolutely. So it's better for you to hear the truth, because I do not lie. Look, I am way past the age of being able to legally drink. So even if I had a drink sitting next to me, which I don't, I have cranberry juice, okay, I could indisputably say, look, I'm drinking, I would be doing it responsibly. But I don't, because it's against my religion. And also, I know that you could go to any place and get and drink one drink, and then boom, they could come after you because of gang stalking and try and claim that you're publicly intoxicated, which I am not, because I do not drink at all, period. So the reason why I decided to make this video is because yesterday was a red flag. Okay. Understand this and be clear. These filthy maggots will accuse you of things that are already on your record. And the reason why the things that are already on my record before, from back from the 90s, was because of staged events that happened between me and the Dearborn cops. Absolutely. You would not believe what's happened to me. You just would not believe it. You just would not believe it. All right, so my fellow American citizens, I strongly suggest you go into my blog. Just go into it. Now, they made me homeless in Michigan. That was the main reason why I came to San Diego. In my blog, you'll clearly see me walking into the University of Michigan in Dearborn, Michigan, attempting to file a police report again. You literally hear me stating that I'm here again, reporting being gang stalked. Okay? At U of M, the University of Michigan, Dearborn, Michigan campus, on January 20th, 2011. You flat out openly hear me state that I'm in the campus safety office again, reporting being gang stalked. Right? Well, when you go to my blog, you're going to see hundreds of videos showing people getting around me and saying, gang stalk, oh my God, gang stalking, gang stalk, oh my God, gang stalk, suck my D-I-C-K. Now, these videos clearly show them in San Diego. That shows interstate stalking, which is a federal crime. The 2006 emails proved that I was describing many techniques of gang stalking being perpetrated on me, including in the Point Loma Library, which is a government building. I could sue the government, and boom. So don't think that the cops don't watch out for the interest of the county and city they're working in, because all tax dollars, okay, the money, when a person wins a lawsuit, that money comes from the general fund, from taxes. Okay, don't think that the police don't protect that shit, because they do, because that's where their salaries are coming from. Make no mistake about it. Okay, so my fellow American citizens, if the police ever try to accuse me, I don't give a shit who they claim call them, okay? If they ever try and accuse me of being publicly intoxicated or involved in any type of illegal activity, do not believe it, okay? Because they know I'm not breaking the law. Hold on. They absolutely know I'm not breaking the law, and they absolutely know that I'm all over the internet, not only exposing them, but exposing every place that's being involved in the gang stalking of me. It was caught yesterday again. But yesterday was an extremely mild compared to what I usually put up with. Like, yesterday was the mildest day that I ever put up with pertaining to me being gang stalked inside the Coffee Bean and Tea Leaf. Every single time I've been in that place, I've been subject to massive, in-your-face, wide-open gang stalking. I'm talking about open, wide-open gang stalking. Okay? Yesterday was the mildest that I ever experienced it in there. Okay, so my fellow American citizens, I made this video to inform, to expose the truth. Because these wild maggots, okay, one of the main goals of gang stalking is to stage events against you based on complete lies and even influenced behaviors, okay, that they perpetrated against you remotely to get you to do something, okay, so they can then come after you, okay? Absolutely, which was that done to me in the 90s and throughout the decade of 2000, between 2000 and 2010, okay? So, it's all over the internet that the police are directly connected to gang stalking. It's mentioned in the manifesto that a manager of gang stalking wrote, which you can go to Google and type in a gang stalking tech, everything you need to know, written by a manager of gang stalking crews. Okay, that person flat out openly states in the manifesto that entire police departments have been taken over by these organized crime groups. Now they're destroying women's lives, putting them out on the street, and then making it appear they got normal appearing reasons to approach that woman so they can take that woman to another place, like offering them homeless shelter services. I've requested through SDPD on over 24 occasions to make a police report that I'm being gang stalked, and they have told me no to my face each and every time, even threatened me with a psychiatrist once, even though the evidence I got online is massive. Like in my blog, there's a video of me catching the San Diego prosecutors and public defenders openly saying gang stalk, oh my God, gang stalk, oh my God, gang stalking, gang stalk, suck my dick, right inside the courthouse, caught on audio, okay? That video is right in my blog. So why would they be doing that around me while I'm had just walked out of the door and was standing right by the door? Why would they be doing that? When I had already published hundreds of videos online all over the internet years before stating that people were saying this along my routes towards me every day. Those videos are all over the internet. Okay? So how would they know to say the same exact... when I was on the Ground Zero show on 9/17/2013, I told Clyde Lewis and millions of Americans who were listening to the show that night that they propped up some homeless people to get around me who were constantly saying gang stalk and oh my God, gang stalk weird, gang stalk crazy, and that's the same exact identical to a T thing that the San Diego prosecutors and public defenders were caught doing. And I was in the courthouse that day as a result of a staged event in Rose Canyon, okay, that I got a ticket from. And as that event was unfolding, I literally caught on video the San Diego Park Rangers admit that it was a staged event. Now that video, the audio of that confession was uploaded to YouTube. The YouTube video was uploaded to the internet, and then I sent the YouTube video through an email to the prosecutor's office, and they still decided to prosecute me for that illegal lodging ticket, even though he openly confessed. In fact, it wasn't just caught on audio, it was caught on video is what I meant to say. It was openly caught on video. That video is in my blog, okay? He openly confessed it as the camera is on his face. He openly confessed that it was a staged event. So how did he know where I was at in Rose Canyon? And as that Rose Canyon event was transpiring, I played the audio file of the Thanksgiving event, okay, and the Yucca Valley gang stalking harassment of me, which was identical to a T pertaining to what the San Diego prosecutors and public defenders were doing. Okay, so think about this. On 8/9/2015, I played two separate tape recording audio files from my phone of the Thanksgiving event where two guys approached me and said, gang stalking, and gang is stalking, I'm going to fuck you up. They also said, oh my God, as the event was transpiring. Then the Yucca Valley event, which was 170 miles away from La Jolla, which is where the Thanksgiving event occurred at, they were caught out there. Both of those events were played to the San Diego police and park rangers during the 8/9/2015 Rose Canyon event. I then get a ticket from that event and have to go to the courthouse to deal with the court hearings because of the tickets. And as I'm at the courthouse, the prosecutors and public defenders, all of them standing together, were caught doing the same exact thing pertaining to what was on the audio that I played to the park rangers and police officers. So the same exact identical thing that I stated I was enduring from the homeless people that prop themselves up around me that camped right by me for almost 2 years, who were doing it every day. Okay, that I exposed on the Ground Zero show on 9/17/2013. You understand? So that brings four events all together. 4 events from 4 dates, 4 locations. Yucca Valley, Rose Canyon, the Thanksgiving event, and then the homeless people from the wooded area, because the individuals that played a role in the Thanksgiving event were the same individuals from the wooded area. So it ties them all 4 together. The same exact identical word for word to a T harassment. Okay? You understand what I'm telling you? So I'm going to go ahead and end this video, and I want you to really think about what I'm stating here. So if the police ever accuse me of being publicly intoxicated, okay, or no matter where I'm at, I don't give a shit who they say called them, it'll be a complete lie. Because I do not drink at all, period, end of story. At all, period. Okay? And I do not do anything else illegal. So, I want you to know this in case it ever happens, because these people are nothing but lying, demented animals. They will lie about anything and everything and accuse you of anything and everything. Absolutely. They're criminals. Okay? You got to think about it this way. Why won't the police investigate me being gang stalked? Okay? Why? 24 separate requests since 2011? There's got to be a reason. Okay? Absolutely. So go to my blog and witness truth, and you will be able to see it because it's in your face. All right, I literally got to go. Thank you for listening, and please research what I stated in this video because it will blow your mind. Thank you, and have a great day.